forgot to ask you if you wanted me to give you a heads up, but you normally say no. So we just gonna roll with it. I said I forgot to ask you if you want me to give you a heads up on the questions, but as usual, you say no. So we just gonna roll with it. So far, you batting for 100, brother. You're doing pretty good on these unstudied questions.
Years, brother.
All right. Okay, cool. It's 9 o'clock, man. We're gonna jump into it. Welcome everybody to this evening's program, The Revolutionary Code, the flagship program of our digital media network, Black Gold Media, where we want to bring you the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, Black people here in America. I am your co-host, Brother Tamani Mwandani out of Houston, Texas. I am the direct revolutionary product of one Cardinal and Bayou Chewy of the Shrines of the Black Madonna, and the indirect revolutionary product of one Albert B. Clegg, African name Jaramogi Abebe Ajiman, the father of liberation theology and the founder of the Shrines of the Black Madonna. I am also the founder of the Black Gold Nation movement, and my co-host, the National Director of Political Strategy and Implementation for the Black Gold Nation movement, and the chairman of LACE, Liberation Advocates for Community Empowerment, the intellectual gangster and corporate grassroots revolutionary from Shreveport, Louisiana, AKA The Boot, Brother Craig B. Lee. All right, brother, you want to say a few words to the people?
Just want to say good evening to everybody, and we're going to have a great discussion, and you know, keep your eyes, your ears open so you can learn some major information as we get ready to go into the voting season in a few months.
Excellent. Okay, if you are joining us via Zoom, please post your questions in the chat if you'd rather not be on camera. And if you don't mind being on camera, please remember to have your phone turned sideways so I don't get yelled at by our media marketing and PR department. If you are joining us via Facebook, please post your questions in the comment section of Facebook, and we'll have one of our ambassadors ask that question if there's one available. And to any of our ambassadors who are tuning in, please share tonight's show via a watch party on Facebook by clicking the watch party option. Before we get started, please give me a few minutes to let you know a little bit about the Black Gold Nation movement. Our ultimate goal is to put our people, Black people, in the position by which we can own and or control the environment, because we understand that when we allow other people to own and or control that environment, we lose. When we allow other people to control any aspect of the environment in which we live, be it political, economic, spiritual, physical, agricultural, whenever we allow other people to control any aspect of our environment, we lose. So since we don't want to continue losing, we seek to identify, organize, connect, and build with our people, not only in our own communities, but as we expand out around the country to establish new communities as well. We are not here just to inform you or educate you. We are here to inform, educate, motivate, mobilize, organize, and build. Everything we say and everything we do is about getting you, Black person, on board to help us build a nation within this nation for our people, period. We are not here to just talk. We are here to do. And as always, we're looking for more doers because we cannot do this thing on our own. So tonight's show title is Power, Controlling Our Space to Own Our Destiny. Power, controlling our space to own our own destiny. All right, Brother Craig, we'll jump right into this thing. To ensure we're starting everybody off on the right foot, what is power, or how do you define power?
Well, the greatest definition that I've ever heard for the word power, and we're not talking about 50 Cent show power. And we're not talking about Robert Greene's book, The 48 Laws of Power, although that book brings some very interesting things to the table. Dr. Wade Nobles, N-O-B-L-E-S, Dr. Wade Nobles has the most phenomenal definition for the word power that I've ever heard. He said that power is the ability to define reality and have others respond to your definition as if it were their own. And in essence, what he's saying is the people who have power create the reality, the world in which you believe is real. Money, status, materialism, schools, healthcare. So from that overall standpoint, when you can control that, and you can control language, you can control the institutions that teach language, you can control the philosophy, you can control the movies, you can control the food, you can control the water. You now have determined reality. And so now when everybody seeks to respond to your definitions, other than seeking to establish their own new definitions or new reality, you control them. And that is what Dr. Wade Novus is saying. So that is the greatest definition of power that I've ever heard.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so how do we go about getting that sort of power?
That comes from the philosophy of Afrocentric thought that the Creator blessed me to tap into 25 years ago. And it's rooted in what I call, as we've talked before, Brother Tamani, the 6 pillars of empowerment.
Right.
Spirituality, right culture, education, economics, socioeconomics, and politics. And those 6 pillars lay the foundation for you to now empower yourself, because I define empowerment as the ability to control your destiny. And the word your, when you look at it, is 2 words in one, Y-O-U, being connected with O-U-R. And from that overall standpoint, you working within the skills, talent, and abilities that the Creator has blessed you with in order to help our community. And that's how we go about doing it, as an individual entity working as a part of the collective whole. And when we do that, then we can become empowered so that we can establish power based on our philosophy, our reality.
Excellent. Most of our people don't have a full understanding of what power is, the importance of having power, how do we get it, and not really understanding political power. One of the reasons I always say that our goal is to own and or control the environment is because, again, when we allow other people to own it or control it, we always find ourselves on the bottom.
Correct.
And the only times we have not found ourselves on the bottom is when we were in control of that environment. So help us understand what politics is so we can have a better understanding of politics and that power moving forward with tonight's show. So how do you define politics?
Well, I gave you the definition, and I'm going to read it, and we'll put it up for everybody when we come back and have the editing done.
Yeah.
But here's the definition that the Creator blessed me to create. Politics is the science and art of promoting an individual or group philosophy. Individual or group philosophy, ideology, belief, and or agenda within a governmental system, whether that be at the local, state, federal, or international level, or within an organization, whether that organization be a corporation, fraternity, sorority, social, civic group, within a family, whether that be your immediate or extended family, or within a relationship of any kind, with the express intent or hidden intent and goal of accomplishing a specific outcome, usually centered around improving the status, position for an individual or group, or the attainment of power of any kind. And in short, if I had to shorten that very complex definition, because people need to understand, politics is not just government. It is everything in your life: family, friends, church, business. So if I had to shorten it, I would say the science and art of moving agendas in any situation or relationship in order to establish a designated outcome that you desire or your group desires. That's politics.
Got it. Good. Now that I'm glad you gave us the shortened version, because that first definition was most certainly involved. And for those of you who are joining us via Zoom, I did put his entire definition in the chat, so you can cut and paste it, because you will need it for later, I guarantee it. Okay. Now you've previously stated on a number of on all of the previous shows that most of our people are incorrect when they state that Black people or the Black community has a lot of problems. You say we only have two problems. The first one, capitalistic white supremacy and racism. And the second one is empowerment, the ability to control our destiny, you and your working together. We can't do anything about capitalistic white supremacy and racism. It is what it is. But we can do something about empowering ourselves to push back against capitalistic white supremacy and racism. So can you explain to us why this is your belief, and that we don't have a bunch of problems? We only got two problems. Help us understand how you came to that conclusion and why you believe that.
Well, part of what I have to do as a culture social engineer is understand the structure of concepts or things. And you got to know the structure of things, and then you have to now deconstruct so that you see how it's constructed. And one of the most powerful tools that the architects, engineers, and managers of the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy racism uses is word. And unfortunately, most people were asleep in English class when it came down to understanding the importance of words, the meaning of words. And so most people, regardless of ethnicity, they use words based on word association. Mm-hmm. They really don't know what the words mean. So it's like, we're going to associate the word problem with something that it really doesn't mean, but this is what I believe it means, although I haven't checked the definition of the term. Every word only has one denotative meaning it only has one real meaning. But in the English language, a word can have connotative meaning, which means it can be something that somebody feels, okay? So you can say a word feels this way to you, but that doesn't mean that that's what the word actually means. So you got denotative and connotative meanings. People really need to study that. And then the history of a word is the etymology of the term. So you got to understand the origin of a particular term. So when we say something is a problem, that means this causes something to happen, right? So if we go into that premise and they say that crime is a problem. Well, just like in math, if you have a problem, you have the ability to have a what? solutions. So now if we look around and we say, okay, crime is a problem, drugs problem, prostitution problem, all these things, problems, well, you got more police, crime still continues. You got more jails, crime still continues. You got capital punishment, crime still continues. Why? Because crime is not a problem. The problem is the mind of the potential criminal that now commits a crime. And the only way that you can solve that is to get into the mind of a potential criminal before he or she commits the crime and show them a different way. So when we understand the difference between a problem and a symptom, it'll make better sense. So let me give you another example. You've been sick, Brother Tamani. You don't have the corona, but you've been feeling bad. Okay. You got a fever, sore throat, runny nose, cough, congestion. And so you've been hanging in there for about a week because you don't want to miss that check at work. Got to hang in there because your damn cable bill is due, your car note is due. So you've been hanging in there.
Yeah.
But this time you say, I got to go to the doctor. So you go to the doctor, and the receptionist checks you in. The nurse asks you the question, what's wrong, Brother Tamani? Man, I got a fever, sore throat, runny nose, congestion. I'm sick. And so they take x-rays, and she say, well, Dr. Zimbabwe is going to be with you in a few minutes. So Dr. Zimbabwe comes in there, and he asks you something, and you're like focusing on your issues, and he says, what's wrong, Brother Tamani? I got a sore throat, runny nose, cough, fever, congestion. Doc, I'm feeling bad. And he asks you something, and you're not even paying attention. He says, how long have you been having those symptoms? Because you just sick.
Right.
And so you say for 2 weeks. So the doctor looks at your patient history, then he looks at your x-rays, and then he determines, Brother Tamani, good news. You're not dying, you don't have corona, you don't have the swine flu, but you have a cold. The cold is the problem. The cold is causing the runny nose, the sore throat, the cough. So he recommends therapy to treat what? The cold or the flu. And then when he recommends that therapy, what goes away? The symptoms.
Gotcha.
That's what, see, we're focusing attention on symptoms and not the problem. So when you ask, how did that come about? Again, as a culture social engineer, I had to see how this thing is constructed and then deconstructed. And I said, hey, the number one problem we got of the two is the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy racism. That's irrefutable. But like you said, it's not that we can't do anything about it, but we can't do anything directly about it, because that is something that righteous, although ain't a lot of them, that's something that righteous Caucasians, white folks, would have to fix on their own. But what we do with our direct problem, no empowerment, is going to have an indirect impact on the issue, the problem of racism, white supremacy. And so that's how I came into that. And if we empower ourselves spiritually, culturally, educationally, economically, socially, and politically, now we've eradicated the majority of the issues that plague us. And now, by default of us becoming empowered, the system of capitalistic white supremacy racism begins to fall. And if we have some good white revolutionary brothers like John Brown, it would fall quicker.
Right, right. That is a very, 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 very good point, brother, you made, and an excellent analogy. Thank you. of treating the symptom and not the problem. You and I, we talk often about some of our Black organizations, how long they've been around, what they do or what they don't do. It seems to me that the vast majority, if not all of them, focus on the symptoms of the problem as opposed to the actual problem. And you and I, we don't necessarily agree that they fully understand the problem, but they most certainly are focusing on the symptom, which is why the problem never goes away.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right. All right, so let's get into some detail. All right, so if empowerment or the lack thereof is our primary or only issue that we do have the ability to change, let's take a look at how empowerment can change some things concretely. I've made a list of 6 of the most common things that our people are dealing with as it relates to not having political power. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you the 6, and then I want you to give me detail about each one as to how we can go about changing it via an article that you've read or case analysis that you've done. Okay? So the top, well, I'm not going to say the top 6, but I'll say 6 of probably the most common symptoms we have of our issues are the melanated savage Negro, and of course you're going to have to explain that, controlling our own economics, institutional power, inadequate education, police brutality, the school to prison pipeline and incarceration, I got all that as one, and food deserts, Those are the 6 things. The melanated savage Negro, controlling our own economics, institutional power, inadequate education, police brutality, school to prison pipeline and incarceration, and food deserts. I've listed those as 6 of probably the most common symptoms that we have in our communities as it relates to not having political power. You with me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So starting with the first one. First, I want you to define what a melanated savage Negro is, and I want you to tell me why you think that is a top 6 symptom, and most importantly, how can political power eliminate that with an article that you've read or a case study that you've done as evidence? Does that make sense?
Yeah, without a doubt. So the melanated savage Negro is an African descendant in America or in other parts of the world that not only lacks spirituality and culture, along with the other 4 pillars of empowerment, but they have now become just like our oppressors in the barbaric, savage sense of the word. They have become terrorists of our people, our children, our females, women, our males, men who can't defend themselves, our elderly. They have taken it upon themselves to become that number 1 terrorist that we have to contend with. And that's what the definition of that entity is. And it is the greatest threat, along with the pseudo-bourgeoisie Negro and the bourgeoisie Negro, because you have to navigate around these people before you can battle the architects, engineers, and managers of the system of white supremacy, because they're actually working for that system while posing as quote unquote Black. And that's why we got to know the difference between those individuals being Negroes in those categories, because the term Negro is a mental construct. It's not a phenotype. It's not a melanin-based thing. It is here in your mind. Yep. And I'm going to read you a definition. I'm so glad that you asked this question. The greatest book, Brother Tamani, that's ever been written on this country is this book right here. It's called Democracy in America by a white aristocrat by the name of Alexei de Tocqueville. And I'm going to read you a quote. And I'm so glad you asked this question. Because in this book, de Tocqueville comes from France to the United States in the early 1800s. And he and his partner, Beaumont, hence the town that down the road from you guys, Beaumont, Texas, his partner, Beaumont, they tour the country. And they're doing observation and analysis of the system of democracy. And they analyze poor white folks, they analyze the Native American, and they analyze us, the African. And I got a couple of quotes. And brother, this is written in the 1830s. And listen to this quote, Brother Tamai. He says, the Negro makes 1,000 fruitless efforts to insinuate himself among men who repulse him. He conforms to the taste of his oppressors, adopts their opinions, and hopes by imitating them to form a part of their community. Having been told from infancy that his race is naturally inferior to that of the whites, he assents to the proposition and is ashamed of his own nature. In each of his features, he discovers a trace of slavery. And if it were in his power, he would willingly rid himself of everything that makes him what he is. This was written in the 1830s.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And ain't nothing changed.
Right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. And it's gotten worse because at least the point that you're talking about when we were in subtle control of our space during segregation, subtle control, not total control, it's gotten worse because over the past 44 years of this pseudo-integrationist experiment, the Negro who already had this mindset, who had already been stripped of his spirituality and his culture, now starts to believe what? Eyes free. Whatever I want to do, because that's what they believe freedom is. Mm-hmm. But what they don't know is the definition of freedom is the ability to govern yourself.
That's right.
And you govern yourself through the 6 pillars of empowerment. And if you don't have a spiritual and cultural foundation, you won't have what? Ethics and morality.
Right.
You won't have what? Discipline. And therefore now the mindset, again, you've gotten into the savage mindset of the entity who has oppressed you. You now believe, hey, I can say anything I want to say. I can do anything I want to do. And you don't understand that the system that you believe that you're operating in that allows you to do that, you're digging yourself into a deeper and deeper and deeper hole. So that's why that melanated savage Negro is the most profound threat. And I can't even tell you what we got to deal with them on, but let's just say it's off the books as to what we're going to have to do to deal with it. Because they're not going to recognize Boy Scout programs, Girl Scout programs. They're not going to get in reading a book. You have to show them through physical action and the acquisition of the 3 things that they believe in, which is money, status, and materialism.
Can you give us an example via an article that you've seen or a case study that you've done to give evidence as to how having political power will help us deal with this issue of the melanated savage Negro?
Well, when you have economic and political power, you now create, you police your own community. You don't leave that up to the police force, although the police force at that point with political power would now be working in concert with our independent policing force. See, so you got to have your own squad of hitters that can deal with the foolishness. That's first and foremost. So when you got political power, now the community, the citizens, know where to call and who to call. Miss Johnson just got her pocketbook stolen by DeAndre, Miss Tucker's grandson. Miss Tucker gets a call. Your grandson needs to come see us, or we're gonna come see him. So when you're controlling your space, the politics of your space, now we're in a situation where we can rock and roll and make that situation happen. If you don't have the political power as it relates to the process, now your community gets run down with crime, dilapidated housing, and all these other things. And guess what? No business wants to operate in there unless they are foreigner with some hustle and some game going on. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are connected to the drug trade as well, yep. Whether they're from the Middle East, i.e. the Iranians, the Pakistanians, or even the Asians. There's a hustle going on within that overall dynamic. And ironically, our people don't hit those stores in terms of robbing them like they would our own people. So that now continues to bring the community down. The political power would now stop that entire situation. We would know everybody in the community, just like the cops who sell dope. Mm-hmm. And now we go have a conference with you. Yep. Brother, we got some businesses for you to tap into, but you ain't gonna be selling no more dope. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna be doing no pimping of the female. And you damn sure ain't gonna be abusing any children and elders. We would be able to make that call at that particular point.
Got it. Thank you for making it clean, plain and clear. I appreciate it. All right, the second symptom, controlling our own economics. Why do you agree that this is a top 6 symptom? And most importantly, how can political power eliminate this with a news article that you can cite or a case study that you've done as evidence as to how political power can eliminate this symptom of controlling our own economics?
All right, so in this particular thing, it's not that political power eliminates the economic issue. You leverage the economics in order to control the politics. You see, it's in reverse. And so you get a strong group of business-minded brothers and sisters who are about the business of understanding the reality that inside of the wicked and diabolical system of capitalism, there is a gold mine that our people created, and that is the system of free enterprise. White folks didn't create free enterprise. We created that. We are the original marketers, business persons, traders of the planet. So by now doing Sankofa, going back and tapping back into our stolen legacy of business greatness, we now are able to mobilize and organize our communities, because you can't do a damn thing in a capitalistic system without financial resources. You know, you always hear the number thrown out that we're a $1.5 trillion consumer base. That's beautiful. But goddamn, brother, to money, less than 3% of that $1 trillion is spent with our sales. Now, it's good to know that we have that kind of disposable income, but how do we now leverage it where we can at least capture a certain percentage? And if our audience listening right now takes their calculator and you input 1.5 trillion, and you now take 20% of that as our goal, and we now achieve 10% of our goal, you're talking about over $140 billion a year being circulated into our Black community. And that's where the Black Gold Nation and LACE here in the city of Shreveport, that's where that comes in. That's where we're at. When you now have the money, you now control the politics at the local level, okay? You control the politics, city council, parish county commission, school board, judicial branch, city judgeships, district judgeships, your sheriff's office, your marshal's office, your coroner's office, your tax assessor's office, your clerk of court office. Now you're in control of your local politics. And out of that, you now elect state officials to go to your state legislature in order to now what? Not change public policy for the state, because that's not going to happen, because we're not going to be enough in numbers to do that. They now leverage the resources for our community.
Dig it. Excellent. Okay. The next one, institutional power. How can having political power help us with this issue of not owning in or controlling our own institutions within our community?
That is directly connected to the last answer.
To the economics.
Leverage the economics. You leverage the governmental politics. The institutions then follow. It goes back to the 6 pillars of empowerment. You get your first two solidified, spirituality and culture. That sets the tone, the philosophy for any organization that we're going to create. And then we got the money to put up for those organizations.
Got it. Okay, so if you're just joining us, you're listening to the Revolutionary Code, where we want to bring you the truth of about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, Black people here in America. Tonight's show's title is Power, Controlling Our Space to Own Our Destiny. My name is Tamani M. Wandani. I'm the founder of the Black Gold Nation Movement, and my co-host is Brother Craig B. Lee, who is the National Director of our Political Strategy and Implementation Department, as well as the Chairman of LACE. Okay, Brother Craig, on to the next question. The fourth bullet is police brutality, the school to prison pipeline, and incarceration. Why do you agree that this is a top 6 symptom? And most importantly, how can political power eliminate this issue with a news article or a case study you've done as evidence of that?
Well, this is an easy one, because again, this is tied into the 6 pillars of empowerment, the acquisition of economic control of your community, because then you're going to control your political structure. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when we go back and we look at what went on in Ferguson when Mike Brown was murdered and Freddie Gray in Baltimore and the cities erupted, I was sitting up trying to figure out what do these Negroes want? And they wouldn't vote, which was crazy, especially in Ferguson. I think the numbers were like 75% African-American population in Ferguson, but they had a damn white mayor, all white city council, damn near all white police force, yet the Negroes were complaining that they were being mistreated. And I'm like, something gotta be wrong here. Maybe they don't comprehend how this game works. And then when I saw Baltimore, I asked the question again, what do these Negroes want? And that's when it dawned on me, Brother Tamani. They want the white folks to love them. And they want the white folks to stop being evil. Well, that ain't gonna happen. So the economics control, the political control, then locks down, again, the police brutality, because the police brutality is a function of who is hired by the police force, racist cops, white supremacist cops, sellout Uncle Tom, Negro cops, and others, right? Mm-hmm. Who makes the decision as to how the policies are going to be regulated? The police chief.
Yep.
How is the police chief hired? He's recommended for hire by the mayor. He's then confirmed by the city council. Who hires the mayor and the city council? The damn voter. So if you're controlling the political process, you're not controlling who is the police chief and what policies that are going to be set in place and whether or not you're going to have a citizens review committee. You see? So now all of that is public policy. So if you're not voting, you're not in the game. School to prison pipeline, my stepson was the national spokesperson for that issue a few years ago. Public policy, willful disobedience, willful neglect. All of these are concepts that are created in the school system. Well, who controls the policy for the school system? The school board member. Who hires the superintendent? The school board member. Who hires the school board member? The damn voter. So who hires the superintendent? The damn voter. By way of the superintendent. Everything connects within that, and the same with the prison reform and criminal justice reform. All of that is public policy because the state controls the policies that will regulate the influx or reduction of people coming in and out of prison. Everything is political.
Right. Given your analysis and ultimate conclusion as to what the Black people want in Baltimore, coupled with what you read out of the book about democracy, both of those realities to me highlight the psychosis of Black people. Exactly. In that the white man has most certainly declared Black people to be inferior, and yes. we have accepted that declaration of Black inferiority, and we act out every single day our belief exactly. in that declaration of our own inferiority. Exactly. And if your conclusion from Baltimore and what you read out of that book from, what's it, 1815? When was it?
1830.
1830. if that doesn't clearly give us an understanding of the problem, I don't know what does. And you're not going to change our belief in our own inferiority if you don't control the environment, if you don't have your own institutions, if you don't have your own systems, if you don't have a spiritual base that's going to support you being Black, if you don't have your own culture. Everything has to be about making the Black mind, body, spirit, and psyche better. And you cannot do that if other people own and control your space.
Brother Tamani, listen what de Tocqueville says to your point. Listen to this. And he's talking about the Negro. If he becomes free, not enslaved now, listen to this. If he becomes free, independence is often felt by him to be a heavier burden than what? Slavery. Having learned in the course of his life to submit to everything except reason, he is too unacquainted with her dictates to obey them. 1,000 new desires beset him, and he has not the knowledge and energy necessary to resist them. These are masters which it is necessary to contend with, and he has learned only to submit and obey. In short, he is sunk to such a depth of wretchedness that while servitude brutalizes, liberty destroys him. Damn.
Yeah.
That's a no-win situation.
Now, what regulates everything that he's talking about there? Those 6 pillars of empowerment.
No doubt. No doubt.
He doesn't get into why the mind of the Negro is this way. He's just observing them. Because remember now, this is just 20-something years before the Civil War kicks off. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about 200+ years of chattel slavery. But he's able to observe the mindset. So that's where we're at all of these years later.
Okay, cool. All right. The last two symptoms. The fifth one is food deserts. Why do you agree that that's a top 6 symptom? And how can political power help us to eliminate that issue?
Again, we go back to the economics,
Yep.
which triggers the political power. The 6 pillars of empowerment sets the tone for the type of political leadership that we're going to have. You establish your institutions. You have all of that structure. You got now education to now understand what needs to happen, the economics there. You have the cooperative component there. And the food desert, you got to resolve, not only because just to put a store there, but in terms of what we're actually consuming for our health. You see what I'm saying? Because out of chattel slavery, we pick up what? The chitlins, all of the pork, all of the bad foods, which now impact our overall health as we get older. And who do we look to save us then? It's the white man, Mr. Johnson. Okay. So the food desert component is directly connected to the health and wellness component. And then that now ties in to our dependence on prescriptive medication. And so all of this cycles back around 100%.
Okay, before I get to the last bullet, I want to ask you a question that came to mind as you were speaking. Everything that you know right now tonight, as it relates to the importance of political power, the 6 pillars of empowerment, the 6 factions of melanated people, everything that you know up to this point, how many years has it taken you to get to where you are right now with all the knowledge and understanding that you have? How many years?
35 direct.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say from the age of 5 to the age of 17, so that's 12. So you're talking about 47 years.
Okay, all right.
Because the indirect piece was essential for me to learn the hypocrisy of religiosity and learn certain things coming up. But from the age of 17 at Xavier University to now, 35 years.
All right. So if it's taken you 35 years to know what you know, to fully understand it, to quantify it, to explain it, to teach it, if it's taking you that long, brother, is it fair for us to judge organizations that have been around for, I don't know, a long time, and they don't have what you have, they don't know what you know, so should we judge them for being ignorant?
Hell yeah.
Why?
Because one of the things that I do, especially locally, I avail myself to working with these different groups. And that's NAACP, Urban League. I avail myself. They're the 2 oldest throughout the United States for our people.
Right. And
the politics that exist in those organizations. I'm a member of the NAACP, and I'm connected with our state Urban League. And so there's so much politics involved in the process. So yeah, because they got talent within the organization. Mm-hmm. But the leadership has always been compromised. And that's just the reality on how that road. It's unfortunate, but yeah, because see, once you stand up and say you're a leader, or you want to be a leader, you need to know what the hell you're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, people need to be able to trust that you have the integrity, the skills, and the commitment and the dedication. And what unfortunately happens with a lot of these people, they're just fleecing the people because they always know they have the trump card. And what's the trump card? The reality of white supremacy racism. You see? They know they got the trump card.
Yeah.
So if they don't see nothing happening, what are they going to say? The white man did it. The white man did it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a hell of a game to play on people.
Right.
And that's why the people, what we're fighting is ignorance, apathy, pessimism, and cynicism. Mm-hmm. See, that's what we're fighting. So now people, they don't see how the voting process benefits them. They say, oh, the hell, it ain't gonna change nothing. You see, that's why the grassroots has to maneuver throughout that process in order to win the hearts, minds, and spirits of our people.
Okay.
So hell yeah, we indict that.
All right, I can dig it. I can dig it. Okay, so what value and or importance does a Black organization have to us as Black people if they're only dealing with the symptoms?
Oh, well, that's simple.
What do we do with them?
Well, no, you infiltrate.
Ah.
You get off your ass as a grassroots person and get in the game.
Yeah.
See, the reason I can speak about the NAACP and the Urban League is because I'm a part of those institutions.
Sure.
I have the right to speak out on them. Some of the things that they attempt to do are decent, superficial things, but they will always focus on symptoms if the grassroots people who got skill and the right dedication don't get off their ass. Mm-hmm. But Tamani, it's just like the bully. Most people are scared to fight. Most people are scared to get hit. See, you got to get off the bench and get in the game and be willing to be talked about, lied on. You got to be willing to have retarded conversations. Because this is going to happen.
Guaranteed.
But you have to stay the course. See, because you owe a debt. There is no right that any of us has earned on our own. Not a one. So you ain't really got no right to complain about nothing. When people do that and they don't get involved, it's just an excuse not to get involved. But both of these organizations have international brand recognition. Get in, learn how they work, take over the damn leadership, and make some things happen. I like that, Sister Fabu, Shirley Chisholm. You don't make progress by standing your ass on the side.
All right, and the last bullet is you've been talking about this throughout. So inadequate education. How does inadequate? Okay, so
they all connect.
Go ahead.
They all connect. And let me tell you this: the biggest lie that's being told right now throughout America about public education is that there's not enough funding.
Right.
That's a goddamn.
Sure.
That's a goddamn lie. Most of these municipalities throughout the country, especially like in Louisiana and Texas, the average child, especially in the inner city, they get more money to educate a child at a public school than most private schools. Let me give you a prime example. In the city of Shreveport, your top 2 or 3 private schools, with the exception of Loyola, because they're the most expensive in our city and parish, their tuition is about $1,000 a month. But of the other 2 schools that are the creme de la creme, Evangel and Calvary, Brother Tamani, $500 a month. Follow me, that's $6,000 a year. At each one of these inner city Black schools, because you're going to have poverty situations, you're going to get Title I money, and then you're going to get special ed money. Okay? So you get increased money from the state, and you get federal money that kicks in. And so you're talking about, on average, $12,000 to $15,000 per child. But they only allocate a smidgen of that money for the children. 90 to 95% of all of that money, guess where it goes? Salaries and benefits for the teachers and the administrators. The children are used as pawns. And so the excuse that they will give is, well, we got to have highly trained teachers.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the private schools, and certified, we got to put that in there.
Yeah.
Highly trained and certified people. Well, guess what? At the private school, there are no certified teachers, basically. These are just people who know how to teach. Right? So you got to bring that cost down. Because, see, no business can operate if their overhead is above like 50, 60%. You want to keep your overhead at about 45, 50%. So that's the real hustle. So now what happens if we control our economics and our politics? We can then do what? Create model schools. The foolishness that Dr. Umar is talking about, we can actually do that.
Right.
And then now model the program that needs to be instituted in the public school system. But you can't do that if you're not controlling the political structure on the school board, and you got to have resources, financial resources to do that.
All right. So I just gave you, we just went over 6 of the major issues that our people are dealing with, the symptoms of not having power or being empowered. I venture to say that there is no symptom that I could mention that being empowered and or having political power implemented via the 6 pillars of empowerment would not completely eliminate. So what we've done, in 56 minutes, we've given the blueprint to liberation and salvation. We've told you how to do it. We've told you the elements of it with the 6 pillars. And in the time that we have left, and we only have 3 minutes, I want you to give me your high level 1, 2, 3 step process to implement putting ourselves on the right track to have political leverage or political power where we might live.
Wherever you live, you got to now start to find 1 or 2 people who share your same enlightened thought, and start to go get involved, start to go to city council meetings, start to go to county commission, parish commission meetings, start to go to school board meetings, start to go to other board meetings, start to go to neighborhood association meetings, start to make yourself visible. Then start to do some projects. Once you become visible and people see the various projects that you do and you're speaking out on issues, now people start to contact you. Get on Facebook, social media. Use it for positive case analysis. Use it to mobilize and organize people in your area, people in your region. So now you start to stitch that thing together, and ultimately they connect with the Black Gold Nation and learn this process as we're doing things throughout the week and throughout the month to help get them trained up so they can go and execute in their particular territories. But those are the first few initial things that they can do. And they can call me or call you, and we can point them on the right direction.
Yeah, and we're going to make it even easier for you to do all of that. What we're doing right now is that we are actively involved in a 100-city virtual tour, whereby we are looking for those 1 or 2 Black persons in 100 cities nationwide who are ready, willing, and able to do something, so that we can not only show them how to do it, but connect them with the leadership that we have that will make sure that they know what they're doing, how it needs to be done, so that we can connect all of it so that we can move forward and build. we don't understand the power that we have. We don't understand how to use that power. We don't know what unity looks like, but we're always talking about it. And we have no idea how to make what we say we want a reality. I'll give you a perfect example. I was tagged in a post 2 or 3 days ago, and I've seen posts like this, I don't know how many times, 4 or 5 times. The brother said, can I find some black people to put in some money so we can buy some land and have our own town? That's what he said. You know, but I see those kinds of posts all the time. So again, I was tagged in it. So my reply was, what if we mobilize and organize ourselves to take political control of several towns and cities at the same time around the country? Instead of just having one, let's have several. And we won't have to put our money aside. We just have to organize, mobilize and organize. Exactly. So the response I got back was, how are we gonna do that? You know, that's not possible. So, you know, we have a lot to teach our people about how this thing is done. We have to push back against a lot of indoctrination, a lot of false teachings. We got to push back against black people who are melanated people who are intentionally deceiving and misleading black people. We got a lot of work to do. But fortunately, as you said, the Black Gold Nation movement, I think, is unique and special because we have studied those movements that have come before us, that leadership that's come before us. We want to build upon those successes, but not make the same mistakes, or not be as strong in the areas where they were possibly weak. And we're never going to get that done if we don't have people on board who are actually ready, willing, and able to do. We need less talkers and more doers. So with that, brother, I'm going to give you whatever time you need to close it out. Any final comments, and then I'll say my piece and we'll be done.
I want to thank everybody for joining us. Hopefully you learned some things. You can reach out to me on Facebook or through Brother Tamani with the BGN. And I'll leave you in the closing words of the quote that I live by every single day, that's attributed to Frederick Douglass and the great pale-skinned revolutionary John Brown. If there's no struggle, there's no peace. Those who profess to favor freedom yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may be both moral and physical. But it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. Never has, never will. Men may not get all they pay for in this world, but they most certainly will pay for all they get. Peace and chicken grease.
Well, amen and ashe. All right, so with that, let me close out by saying, if you want more information about the Black Gold Nation movement or about the 100 City Virtual Tour, go to our events website, www.blackgold-wakandarising.com. Click on After the Protest, read the verbiage. If it makes you feel warm and fuzzy on the inside, click on Register Now, find your city, and join us. Again, as I said initially, we're not here just to inform you. We are not here just to educate you, but we want to motivate you to do something. We are running the risk of becoming a permanent underclass in the country that our people built if we don't talk less and do more. Exactly. We try to give you concrete solutions to concrete problems so that we can get about the task of eliminating them and moving forward and living as we are supposed to as a people, as a unified people on the planet. So if you're interested in doing, as opposed to just talking or posting on social media, if you want to learn more about empowerment, the 6 pillars of empowerment, if you want to learn more about the 6 factions of melanated people on the planet and which one you might be or not, you need to plug into what we're doing because we're about that work. And we're about building a future worth living for our children and our children's children and every generation of Black child to follow. So with that, again, as Brother Craig said, I also thank you for being a part of the show. I sincerely appreciate it. Share this thing with as many melanated people as possible so we can get more people on board. And always, always, always remember two things. No one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely, always, always, always remember that nothing is more sacred. Not you, not me, not your kids, not my kids, not your family, not my family. Nothing is more sacred than the liberation and salvation of Black people. Because if Black people don't make it, guess what? You're not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. Our children ain't gonna make it, and our family show's not gonna make it. However, if we take care of the group, if we take care of the people in the nation, then by default, because our loved ones are attached to that group, then they will be all right. So again, thank you guys for being a part. I appreciate it. Good night. God bless. Have a nice evening. Take care.
All right.
Peace.